it's your job and responsibility to establish, first of all, that God is. And that you are going to raise them in the way that God would, so that they might know God for themselves. You, man, are the representative and the image of God before your family. And so it is your job to lay that foundation and to lay that atmosphere, to provide a peaceful home so that purpose can be brought up there. When Adam sinned, God issued a number of different curses. And these curses weren't necessarily something that God intentionally did to punish man. Yes, he banished them from the garden, but he didn't necessarily punish them. He had already given them the instructions on what to do. He had already told them what the consequences was going to be for not following his instructions. And so when they decided that they were going to do something contrary to what God had instructed and commanded, then those results automatically begin to kick in because they were already there. He didn't just bring... Because I think about my kids. When I raised my kids little, I would give them information up front. I say, now you're going to school. And at the school, you got these grown-ups, right? You would respect those grown-ups. You say, yes, sir. You say, yes, ma'am. You give your children instructions on how they are to conduct themselves. And then you let them know. Now, if you do not conduct yourself in that way, if I get a phone call from this school, fill in the blanks how you may. But I know if my mama came up to that school, if she got a phone call or a letter sent home from that school, there were going to be consequences and repercussions. Sorry. Because she told me up front, when you go to that school, you sit there and you listen. Don't be passing notes. Don't be chewing gum. Don't be talking. And you do what that teacher says to do. And see, that was back in the day when they allowed teachers to apply a little bit of paddle to you. A little bit of pressure. A little bit of pressure. Yeah, man. My principal name was Mr. Massey. He was a white guy. He had a paddle called Big Bertha. And it's amazing how when you get older and everything, you don't realize certain things. You start finding out certain things about about the social climate of the time you grew up in before you realize what a social climate was. I think Mr. Massey liked whooping them little black kids. I think he did. I think he enjoyed. There was a certain part of that he enjoyed. He was the nicest white man, older gentleman. But you could tell that there was a certain enjoyment and pleasure he got in handing out them swats when it was necessary. So anyway, God gives you the instructions and everything up front. And there are some of you who are experiencing what you think is a curse, when it's simply a consequence of something that you did that was contrary to the design of God. That can easily be corrected by realigning yourself with the will of God, period. How my wife said, that's it, that's all. That's it, that's all. But yeah, fellas, that's what your main responsibility is. So when you start thinking about getting married, right? It's not about the money. That's the reason why you have all these guys out here with all this money and stuff like that, and the marriage is still empty, because you don't know what your role is. Your role is not to provide money. That's not what God said. What you have to do is you have to establish, first of all, understand who you are, know what your purpose is. When it becomes time, based on your relationship with God, and it is time to find a wife, when you go out and you find her, the first thing you should establish with her is that I am here to provide lay a foundation and set the stage for everything God told you in your life to come to pass. And when we have children, I do the same thing for them. That's what your role is, fellas. How many of you have ever heard that? But that is what your role is. That's the purpose. Because God said, I want you to be fruitful and multiply. He said, but I want you to multiply who I am in the earth. And so basically, you're going to have to establish yourself as a man after my own heart, so that when you begin to procreate, the children that pop out are going to also be me. We'll have that resemblance. We'll have that family resemblance. You know how it is. You know, you walk into a place with your baby. Ooh, you spit that one out. He looked just like you. I remember one time I was talking to my mother, and my father's not here anymore. But I was talking to her, and we was having a really passionate conversation about something. It wasn't an argument, but we was really kind of, you know, there was some excitement in what we were saying. And she looked at me with big eyes, and she said, boy, I sure saw your dad. I saw your daddy. I saw your daddy right there when you said that. Now, my mom had a whole set of mixed feelings about my dad. So I didn't really know how to take that at first. You know what I mean? But there's a family resemblance that you get when you allow yourself to be part of the family of God. Now, you're already a child of God. There's nothing that can change that. But the productivity of your relationship begins to form in you or recreate your life to where it resembles God. That's the reason why Jesus said, when you see me, you see the Father. Oh, so I told you, see, it's supposed to bring you joy. It's bringing me joy. My wife over there smiling. See, that's how I know I'm doing it right. When she over there smiling, you know, so she be like, go ahead on, Johnny. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm just going to sit here in the cut. we just going to eat. But that's it, fellas. Find who you are. Find out, discover it, find it. Pursue it with everything you have. Seek first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness. And when you do have a wife added to you, you're going to start seeing the fruit of that productivity. But that's what your role is to lay the foundation and set the groundwork. That means you got to educate your children. You and your wife, the one you went out and found, right? Because remember, a man that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. You can't find a wife if you have not taken care of that step number one. You better look, Because there's some real wives out there. And I'm not talking about just these women out here that just, I'm tired of waiting. My biological clock is ticking, and all the good men are taken. What am I supposed to do, Lord? No, I ain't talking about them. I'm talking about them women who had done gone out there for themselves, have been established. See, they have a father that has raised them according to, you see how this works? So they have a father who discovered his purpose, knew who he was, and established his family and a means through which she know what being a wife is before she even get married. So she's already a wife in waiting. And brother, she's not gonna recognize anything but God. If she's a real wife, she's not going to recognize anybody but God. So you can walk up there with your money if you want to, and your nice car, and your homes, your fame, your fortune. She's not going to recognize you. You're going to end up with somebody else who'll be more interested in taking everything you got than to help you continue to be fruitful and multiply under the alignment and under the design of what God built the family for. Y'all need to really hear this. That's what your job is, fellas. So that eliminates all this other stuff that we argue over, all this other petty stuff like, woman, kitchen in the bedroom. You know what I'm saying? Kitchen in the bedroom. She's supposed to go in there and cook them meals, man. I've been out here humping and working all day, man. I want my bath water run. That wasn't the assignment for her to run your bath water. I get it. It's a really cool gesture, but that's not the that's not the job. And brother, I'm gonna tell you something. In these days, in the 2020s. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. You come back here and you tell me, fellas, email us. marriedstraightforward@gmail.com. Email me and tell me you found a woman that's going to run your bath water and she has no clue she has no aspirations at all, but to be married to you. Let me know who that is, and I'm going to tell you the destruction that's about to happen to your life. That's your role, man. The reason why Adam's sin was so egregious, because it really wasn't the initial act of him allowing Eve to convince him to do something that God told him not to do. It was the fact that God held him accountable to function in his role. And he didn't. He failed. Instead of establishing something for her to prosper, she ended up over there talking to the serpent. What is it that you're doing, fellas? To where you gotta always go find your woman. She ain't ever around. She'd rather be hanging out with the girls. We're gonna talk about that. So what I want to tell you, fellas, that's what your role is, man. These kids are coming up crazy. These kids are getting taken over by the technology age. They're out there playing games and getting groomed by people. I've seen some of the most crazy stuff. I'm talking in the families. I'm not gonna go into detail, but I'm just gonna let you know. There's some really, really, really crazy stuff that goes on when a man is not functioning as God designed him to function, as it pertains to himself and his family. We prayed for our daughters. We prayed to say, well, that means that if once they decide that they're going to allow God to really become God in their life. And I'm not talking about go get saved. I'm not talking about go join a church. I'm talking about whenever anybody, male or female, comes into an encounter with God, and now they have been converted by the truth, by the reality of who God is. They've come into contact with who they are and who they're supposed to be. And they're forever changed. When you come into that situation, then God begins to navigate your life in ways that will astonish you for years and years and years and years afterwards. My wife was having a moment last night. I was like, babe, what's going on? Why are you crying? She said, oh, I was listening at this video. There was a young lady talking about transitions, about how God takes you from glory to glory. I'm paraphrasing, but that's really what I was hearing her say. And how a lot of times God has been navigating your life. You didn't even know it. All I was doing was just trying to be the best me I could be in his eyes and make sure that I did the things that pleased him. And come to find out, I'm seeing now how he navigated my life and steered me through things, taking me from place to place in my life that I would not have ever even thought about. God had details on what he wanted me to be. He had things that he was trying to do. And I did it because I knew it would be pleasing to him. It wasn't always comfortable, but it was pleasing to him. And so he took care of me. And she said, I was just having a moment. I said, well, go ahead, have your moment, baby. You know, good. We do that sometimes. We have our moment. But that's the thing, guys. And so women, when you are a wife, remember, your wifehood starts before you get married. As a matter of fact, your wifehood should be complete before you get married. And what am I saying by that? What I'm saying is this. You are part of the bride of Christ. You are part of the church. You are part of the bride of Christ. So you are essentially married already by covenant of God. By covenant of and covenant to God. I'm going to post some scriptures right here because I want y'all to understand. I'm not making this up. So before you go out there and start looking at his dreadlocks and start looking at his skin color and start allowing them butterflies to flutter around in your belly because he wearing them jeans. He just wearing them jeans, girl. He just wearing them jeans. He smells so good. How many of you all out there got that smell fetish? There's some women out there, man. It's like pheromones. They if a dude wearing some good cologne, ooh, my goodness, you're gonna get conversation. At least you're gonna get some rhythm. Before all of that, God says by covenant, you belong to me. You belong to me first. And so however you live with me is how you are going to live with the person I send you that is also living like me.